So I've been having an issue with the coolant leaking on this Ford Exploder 5.0 V8, and it's been leaking coolant pretty good. So I just was going ahead and taking a look at it, diagnosing it. Up here we have the thermostat and the housing here, and you can see down here that the gasket on it is just blown apart. It's all, I mean, you can touch it and it falls apart. So I'm going to replace the gasket on it, and then also down here we have the water pump. Kind of hard to see. Got the water pump down here, and then there is the bypass hose right there. And that bypass hose, now if I squeeze this a little bit, it's probably hard to tell, but right there you can see it's actually bubbling out, so it has a pinhole in it. So I'm going to be going ahead and replacing those. First things first, get a drain bucket, kick it under there. Next, use our 1/4 inch ratchet with, well, I don't need a deep 8, but I'm going to use a deep 8, and I'm going to loosen up this hose clamp right here. Once you get that hose clamp loosened up, pull it out of the way, and then pull up this upper radiator hose up and out of there like that. And that's why we have the drain bucket. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my 3/8 ratchet here with an extension and a 13mm. And instead of having to take the belt out and all that stuff, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the extension under here like this and get it right up there on that bolt, and I'm going to break it loose. So I broke that bolt loose. Now I'm going to break this bolt loose here on the other side. Just get that on there real quick. So I got the bolts out of there, out of the housing. Now I'm going to loosen up that hose clamp right there, and then that hose clamp right there, and they're both 8mm. Okay, now that I got that hose clamp and that hose clamp loosened up, what I'm going to do is use some of this blaster here to spray either side of the hose. Because what happens is these things sticking on here for so long, they're difficult to get off, and that really makes a difference on how easy it is to take these hoses off. And I'm also going to use actually a larger handled pick that I have right now, and reach under the top of the hose. And it doesn't matter if I rip it because I'm replacing it anyway. So get this other hose out of the way and just start working it until you can pull it right off. Okay, so I was able to pull out the thermostat housing, and I didn't show that part because it's actually pretty difficult holding the camera and trying to use both my hands when I'm holding a camera trying to pull that thermostat out. So all you really need is just a small pry bar like so, and just pry it right off there. It came off, and I've already cleaned this one up a little bit. What you want to do after you pull off the housing is you want to clean around the edges here, all around where it's going to be sealed up again with the hoses. The other hose goes here, so I already cleaned that up a bit. You want to make sure that you also clean up around the back where it's going to be sealing again, where the gasket's going to go. And again, I have the new gasket right here to go over it. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a once over again, cleaning up here on the back. And also make sure that you clean up around the edges where it seals up there, and then also where the bypass hose for the water pump also connects right there. And for that, I have one of these little mesh things here, and some brake and parts cleaner. Spray it on here, and then just take that and start wiping away around the whole entire edges of this. All right, now that I got the thermostat housing all cleaned up and the places where I'm connecting it to down there, next thing to do is take the gasket. Just make sure it lines up. Just looking at it on there, lines up good. Now what I'm going to do is I got some silicone here, and I'm going to go ahead and put it all around here so that the gasket stays on there, and then when I go to put it on to there, it will stay and help seal it on there. Okay, so I got the thermostat installed on here. What I did is I sat the thermostat down. You want to sit it down on here like this with this end sticking out of the housing. And then you put some silicone all around the seal there, and then put that gasket over it. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some more sealant around this part of the gasket, so that way when I go and stick it on there, that it's gonna actually have a better seal. So the next thing I'm gonna do is put some silicone around there, and then I'm going to get one of the bolts here, wherever I just stuck it. I'm gonna get one of the bolts, put it through here, and then I'm gonna put it on there, just one bolt first, and then I'll start the next one. I don't wanna thread it all the way down until I have them both on there, and then that way, then I'll tighten them down from there. So now I got the silicone on the top here, and I'm holding this on, the one bolt through there. That way I'm gonna try to thread it on by hand, just to get it on there, and then I will get the other bolt in, and then I'll push it in all the way, and then that way I'll tighten it down from there. Now that I got that bolt lined up, and I got this one lined up, I'm gonna go ahead and start tightening them down. Okay, now that I got that installed and it's secured on there, the next thing I'm going to do here is be replacing this old bypass hose for the water pump with this new one. And now if you look at this, one side is actually a smaller opening than the other, and the reason for that is because there is a smaller opening down there, and then there's a bigger one right there. So you want to make sure that you have this lined up properly, that the larger side is on that side and the smaller side is on that side. And the way to get this on is we're going to slide it underneath this, underneath the belt here. But first, what I'm going to do to make it easier to get on is I'm going to spray some silicone spray in here and here. That way when I go to slide it on to their fittings there, it makes it a lot easier to get it on. Okay, so I put the spray on there. Next thing I did was put these hose clamps on here and here. Again, the smaller hose clamp is on the smaller end that faces down there, bigger one on this side. Again, proportionate to where the hole openings on both sides of this hose are. And we want to make sure that we have this hose clamp facing this way when we put it down there. That way it's easier to access if we ever have to take it on and off again. Same with this side, we want it facing this way. Now I just take the hose, push it up under here, and what I'm gonna do, again, the silicone spray does miracles, and it allows me to slide it on as so with ease. And you want to make sure that's pushed back all the way. So I got the hose put into place, and I couldn't film that because obviously I had to use two hands. Now you can see why I said to put the hose clamps in those positions. That way you can actually get a tool there to access it. So what I'm going to do, I have them in position, and now I'm just going to go ahead and tighten these down. Perfect. Now that I got that tightened down on both sides there, I can go ahead and put this bracket back on for this line right here onto the alternator, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. Alright, then I'm going to take some of the silicone spray, get that upper radiator hose back down on there, tighten down that hose clamp. Perfect. Now I got everything back together over here. So what I'm going to do next, go ahead and pop off the radiator cap, because obviously we lost some coolant in the process, and I'm going to fill it up with coolant. So this is the stuff you actually have to mix with water, so I'm going to do a little half and half here to get the mix right. So I'm just putting the radiator cap back on now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run the engine for a minute, get the fluid flowing through it, and then I'm going to go ahead and check the fluid level here in the radiator itself, make sure there's enough in the reservoir over there as well. And once you've topped that off, you're done. And that's how simple it is to go ahead and replace the thermostat housing gasket, the thermostat itself, and the water pump bypass hose. Very simple, all together, very easy to do. As long as you have the tools, you can make it happen fairly quick. Just make sure that when you're running the vehicle, because of replacing the thermostat, that it can start to overheat until that thermostat opens up. So just take it easy for a couple minutes there until that thermostat opens up, and then you'll be good to go. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, Daily Driver, and I'll be seeing you soon.